Hi, welcome to the Scrapbook Pal channel. I'm Kara, and today we're making a shaker card with Lawn Fawn products, and this is Lawn Fawn's Year 10, and that's the celebratory stamp for it. And I'm also using the outside in stitched balloons and balloon frames, and some Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and I'll use 2 pieces of this, and I'm just going to use some Distress Inks. This is picked raspberry and some festive berries. Now I put some spun sugar down on there as well, but I don't use that. So I'm just taking some water and a watercolor brush, and I'm going to start just dabbing it onto my paper. This is going to be the front panel, and I want just kind of a blend between the bright pink and this bright red, kind of make a coral combination there between the two. And then I need to leave it alone and just let it dry. And meanwhile, I'm going to make enough of an area to cut out my balloon. And I'm going to kind of have it the same. So it's the picked raspberry and picking it up and washing it around with some water, and then also with the festive berries. A little less festive berry than the picked raspberry. I'm kind of looking for a bright pink look here. I'm adding more water to this panel than I did for my initial panel, so it's not going to be as bright. I'm going to just spread it around and let it dry, and then I'll come back in and do it again to get it to be brighter. I'm trying to sort of match the color that's on that front panel there. But meanwhile, while it's drying, I can stamp up my images. So this is our cute little cactus. I'm using Jet Black ink by Lawn Fawn. It's Copic friendly, and I'll be using Copics today. And I'm going to stamp out a few of those flowers, and at this point I wasn't sure how many I wanted to use. And then the little face that comes along in the stamp set for this cactus. There are 2 faces that are in the set. One, he's winking, and then this one where he has both eyes open. Now I'm going to color up my cactus, and I'm using a YG01. I'm just going to color the entire cactus and then start blending. This is a YG05, and then I'm going to come in with the YG03 to kind of blend those 2 together. Normally I find that YG03 to be a little different than the 01 and the 05. Those are brighter, and this one is I don't know, it's a little more olive than the others. But it works very well for this blend on the cactus, so YG03 got into the mix. And it's nice to have that one step between the 1 and the 5. So coming back in with my darkest again to just darken up the areas that were blended away, and onto the flowers. I wasn't sure what color I wanted for the pot yet, so I left that white, and I'll make that decision later. So in these flowers, I decided I could go really bright to match the background, and so these are RV02, 04, 6, and now 09, getting very dark just in the little edges or the crevices inside the flower and at the bottom, and then just blend that all back in. It's a really tiny space, so I wanted a very, very big contrast. The images are all colored for now, so I'm going to take the coordinating dies and run this through a Big Shot die cutter, and I'll be right back. There they are over on the main panel. And my other panel is dry enough to add some more of the Distress Inks. So again, with the picked raspberry and festive berries, trying to get that dark and that's pretty good there. I'm happy with that. But then I realized that I need to cut out two balloons because one is the balloon frame and the other is the back of the balloon. And the two together are going to form the shaker. So I want it all kind of to be the same because I'd like a smooth transition between the frame part and the inside of the balloon. So I worked on that for a while and they both fit now. So now I can decide what color I want to make that pot, and I decided let's keep it pink. Let's keep it bright pink like the rest of it so that the green really pops out and becomes kind of the contrast or the one thing that's different on the card. So I'm using those same colors that I did for the flowers and trying to get a nice blend, but also a bit of a contrast. And then in the end, I decide it can be darker so that it fits nice with the background. So the RV09 came into play, and the RV02 went away. I just went over that with the RV04. So that was my final blend there. And then I realized because I have that kind of corally color in the watercolor, I wanted to bring that along with the color of the pot. So I decided to add the R35, and that kind of gave me the same look as it blended out with the RVs on the pot. So it gave me that same look as the background. And now the watercolor panel is dry, and I'm going to take the dies and run it through the die cut machine. And there they are. So I used the medium sized balloons. And now I'm putting it in the MISTI because I'm going to put the sentiment from the Year 10 stamp set in the middle, and I want to emboss that with white embossing powder. So I'm just setting it in there so that once I put in some filler into my shaker, that it will be able to rest on the bottom and you can still see the sentiment. So I wiped it with a static pad and used clear Lawn Fawn ink to stamp out the sentiment, and now I'm using some Lawn Fawn white embossing powder, and I'll sprinkle that on. And that anti-static powder bag is so that I can make sure that I didn't have any of that powder or the embossing powder go where I didn't want it. It's only sticking to the ink part. So I heated that up with a heat gun, and now I can put away my extra embossing powder. And I'll bring the frame back to make sure that the sentiment can be seen through the frame. Now it's time to assemble the shaker. So I cut a piece of acetate out of the medium outside-in stitched balloon, and I'm using the Lawn Fawn glue tube to put some glue around that frame, and then I will adhere the acetate to the top. Once I have that on there, I want to make sure it's very dry. So I'm going to put a couple of acrylic blocks on top of it just to make sure that it's well sealed. So there's a couple of blocks just to get it so that it's not going to buckle at all. And now that I have that, I cut some foam. This is fun foam, crafting foam. I was going to use that other foam tape, that's a Tombow tape, but in the end I decided to use the craft foam so that I could die cut it right from that frame. But this is a thicker fun foam, and so I need to, when I put it through my die cut machine, it flattens out a little bit, so I wanted to make sure that none of it would be seen outside of the frame. And I'm going to take some scrappy tape now, and I have the 1/4 inch tape here. I thought that's the size I was going to need, but really I needed the 1/8 inch, so I just cut it in half and I'm going to go all the way around that foam so that I can adhere it to the frame. When I make a shaker card, I find it's really important to have a very strong adhesive. I've tried just using like a tape runner on something like this, and I've lost all the shaker bits out. So I learned my lesson, and now I use a very strong adhesive like scrappy tape. And I'm going to put this foam now onto the back of the balloon and not on the frame, because I'm going to use this as a well to add my shaker bits. And that's how it's going to look, and I wanted to make sure that you couldn't see any foam anywhere, and nope, it's good to go. So what am I using for shaker bits? Well, first I want to put some of that anti-static powder in there so nothing clung to the sides. But this is Lawn Fawn's Chunky Glitter, and it makes a great wow look for a shaker. And it's always a question to me of how much to put in there. It's a guess every time, but we'll see how I did. And now put some of that scrappy tape on the frame, and I'm just snipping off that end of the balloon on the acetate because I didn't need that on there. And I'm being very careful to set this right where I want it because I don't want to upset that glitter at all by moving things around too much. And now that I have it there, I'm sealing it down, and nothing is going to escape out of there. And I can see the whole sentiment when the shaker bits or the glitter is all at the bottom. So I'm very thankful for that. So now it's time to put this all together. So here's our little cactus and the little flowers. I decided I'm only going to use 2 of those flowers because our cactus is going to be holding the balloon string. Now there is a die that comes with the balloons that you can use, but I'm going to use this sparkle hemp cord from Lawn Fawn. This one is called Pretty in Pink, and it has a little bit of silver throughout it, and so it goes great with that chunky glitter and also my very pink balloon. And so I'm just snipping off a part of that to decide how much I need for the string. And one thing I really like about this hemp cord is that it's a bit sturdy, or sturdier than other twine that I've used, and so it works really well. Now I'm going to use that Tombow foam tape that I was initially going to use on my balloon frame, and I'm going to use that instead on my cactus. Now this too is very strong adhesive, so if I used that in the balloon frame, that was like using the scrappy tape. That glitter was not going to seep out or go anywhere, but it's a nice thick foam as well, so it matches the height of my shaker balloon. All right, put a little bit of glue on the cactus so that I can get those flowers where I want them. And a nice thing about glue in this case is that I can move those flowers all around a little bit, position them where I think they look the best. And then I can get that string ready to go. Now I like to put just a little dab of glue at the ends, and that kind of seals up the ends of my string so that they don't fray. And then with the one end of the string, I'm going to attach it to the back of the balloon shaker, and I'm going to use a glue dot to do that. And again, that's a nice strong adhesive as well, so that string will stay right in place. And I'll put some scrappy tape on the back of this shaker so that if someone gets very enthusiastic shaking this, it's not going to fall off of the card. And just take off that release paper on the back And then again, this is not going to go anywhere. I'm going to position the balloon so that the bottom part is kind of facing towards the cactus, but that the sentiment itself is kind of straight. That was my intention there. And then I'll just glue the piece of the cord onto the cactus as though she's holding that. Get off a little of the extra glue, although it does dry clear. And now I'm going to create a little bow with the hemp cord, and I'll put that onto the front of the balloon. Just get that the way I want it and cut off the little ends. I put a little liquid glue on the balloon and put my bow down, but then decided I wanted those little ends to be a bit shorter, so I'm just snipping those off. And I had put some glue on the end of these as well so that they wouldn't fray. So just getting that the way I want it, and now I can put a little more glue on there and add my bow. The front is done, and now I want to adhere it to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch note card, and I'm going to put the adhesive. This is a Tamamano dot runner adhesive, and I'm putting it on the card itself, the card base, and then putting the watercolor cardstock right on top of that. All of the supplies I used are listed below and also at scrapbookpal.com. I hope you enjoyed the video today, and if you did, if you would give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.